Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 27th of October 2021, and these are the stories that we'll be talking about during the course of the show. We'll begin with the significance of this day today, that is the Kashmir Black Day. Of course, we will be talking about Kashmir's struggle for self-determination. As you can see, all of our anchors are wearing black bands here. As a sign of solidarity with all of our Kashmiri brethren who are being subjugated to unnecessary brutalities in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. It was in this very day in 1947 that India landed its army in Srinagar, and there was an accession deal that had been signed, but of course the Maharaja did not want to accede to Pakistan, due to which he signed an accession deal and the Indian army landed, despite the fact that it was a Muslim majority area and the majority of the people in the area wanted to accede to Pakistan, a claim they still side by, but nevertheless there is no plebiscite to this day. This is going to be our leading segment of the day. Then our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the relationship between Pakistan and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Now, Saudi Arabia has agreed to revive its financial support to Pakistan. That includes $3 billion in safe deposits and $1.2 billion to $1.5 billion worth of oil supply demands on deferred payments. This agreement was reached during the visit of Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where he met with all the important leaders. And of course, the Prime Minister also tweeted in that respect. He said, "I want to thank His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Salman for supporting Pakistan with $3 billion as deposited in Pakistan's central bank and financing refined petroleum product with $1.2 billion, as the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has always been there for Pakistan in our difficult times, and now when the world confronts rising commodity prices." This is going to be our second segment of the day. Then we will talk about a report that has come out from a TRT, that is a Turkish of course news outlet, a very famous one, that talks about a Palestinian mother who's forcibly pulled from her son's grave by Israeli occupation forces while trying to protect it from being bulldozed. Now, this is a huge sign of, again, those atrocities that are being committed by the Israelis to the Palestinians. And in this latest segment of this brutality, what they are doing is they are raising all the graves of that are especially the Muslim graves in Jerusalem, and that is why this the mother of one of the boys who lost his life, who was martyred there, is not willing to let go of her son's grave. This is going to be our third story. Then finally, we will be talking about hate campaign in India. Now, we are seeing a lot of campaigns in India against the minorities, especially against the Muslims. We're seeing what is happening in India, illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Also within India, we've seen in the past, we've also seen what happened when Pakistan beat India in the T20 World Cup. Now, in the latest segment of all of that, what is happening is, as Diwali, that is a Hindu festival, is coming near, there's a huge ad campaign for that Diwali. And this there's a huge hue and cry that it is now emanating from the Hindu majority of India that say that the Urdu words used in that ad campaign need to be struck down, because what they say is that Urdu is a Muslim language. This is going to be our last story. Let's begin with our first story, and that concerns Kashmir Black Day and Kashmir's struggle for self-determination. We are there with our Kashmiri brethren and are, of course, in spirit, and we will be continuing to provide them with all political, diplomatic support as far as we can. More in the following report.
When Pakistan says that Kashmir is an unfinished agenda of partition, it says this in the backdrop of history of Kashmir and UN resolutions on the issue. Despite being a Muslim majority state and overwhelming support in favor of joining Pakistan at the time of partition, Maharaja Hari Singh trampled upon the will of Kashmiris. The Kashmir dispute is the oldest unresolved international conflict in the world today. India's forcible occupation of the state of Jammu and Kashmir in 1947 is the main cause of the dispute. India claims to have signed a controversial document, the Instrument of Accession, on 26 October 1947 with the Maharaja of Kashmir. Maharaja's fears of rebellion among Kashmiris in favor of joining Pakistan led him to invite Indian forces. India put forth a condition: it will only help if Maharaja accedes Kashmir to India. and thus the invasion of Kashmir began by the occupying Indian forces. There are doubts about the very existence of the instrument of accession. The United Nations also does not consider Indian claim as legally valid. It recognizes Kashmir as a disputed territory. The fact is, all the principles on the basis of which the Indian subcontinent was partitioned by the British in 1947 justify Kashmir becoming part of Pakistan. The state had majority Muslim population, and it not only enjoyed geographical proximity with Pakistan but also had essential economic linkages with the territories constituting Pakistan. As India began forceful occupation, Pakistani forces rushed to halt Indian advance. Several key areas of Kashmir were liberated from the occupiers. Looking at imminent routing of its forces, India rushed to the United Nations to seek resolution of the issue at the Security Council. The United Nations Security Council resolution of 21st April 1948, one of the principal UN resolutions on Kashmir, left the matter to be decided by Kashmiris themselves through a free and impartial plebiscite. Knowing the ground realities well, India never intended to hold plebiscite. Now, with a fascist Hindutva regime in New Delhi, it has given the Indian state new powers to introduce grossly inhumane laws in occupied Kashmir, take away any remaining rights of Kashmiris, and keep the entire valley in a state of prison. Since coming into power in 2018, Prime Minister Imran Khan has been vocal in his support for the Kashmir cause, reinvigorated Pakistan's diplomatic efforts, and his words exposing the Indian atrocities in the occupied valley echo in the highest platforms in the world. But the world remains silent, and Kashmiris continue to suffer under brutal Indian occupation. This is Ali Andaz reporting for PTV World.
Now let's talk a little bit about the history of this very day that we consider a black day. In 1947, on the 19th of July, the genuine representation of the Kashmiris unanimously passed a resolution for accession of Kashmir to Pakistan during a meeting of the All Jammu and Kashmir Muslim Conference at the residence of Sardar Muhammad Ibrahim Khan in Abi Guzar area of Srinagar. This resolution called for the accession of now, which is the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, to Pakistan in views of its, of course, existing religious, geographical, cultural and economic prosperity and proximity to Pakistan and aspirations of Muslims, of Kashmiri Muslims. Mishal Malik joins us online. She is the spouse of a Kashmiri leader and herself a huge voice that raises the rights for the people in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Mishal Malik, thank you very much to have joined us. Ma'am, this day that we call a Black Day, how important is it for us in Pakistan to stand in solidarity with our Kashmiri brethren, and how much is our voice going across the world as far as the atrocities that are committed by those Indians and Indian forces in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir?
Thank you very much for asking for my viewpoint. I think right now the situation is so crucial. It's not just about mourning on 27th of October 1947 what took place and condemning it till date, but what has happened on 5th of August 2019, which is the second day of the second chapter of occupation. First was the Indian occupational forces, now it's the Indian public, which is settling there in lakhs and lakhs. Over 45 lakh Kashmiris, Indians have been issued domiciles and residency certificates and been given voter rights. So our main challenge right now of Pakistan is it's not just of condemning or the brutalities or asking India to come on the table, but they have broken all cords of dialogue, all negotiations, bilateralism, UN resolutions, Geneva Conventions, international treaties, covenants, and right now what Pakistan really needs to do is that, and it is already doing that. I'm grateful to the Foreign Office that they take input from the Kashmiris as well and from us, and we've been telling them that we need a strong legal document or a booklet coming from Pakistan, which was given the dossier, which is not just a booklet. It was detailed. It has photographic evidences. It had visuals. It had phone calls of the Indian occupational forces of admitting the war crimes and the atrocities that they've been committing in the castles and the fake encounters that are taking place. So what more evidence does the world need? Because our case is so strong with solid forensic evidences, visuals, statistics, everything. that we are heading towards a broad brush approach now on Kashmir. It's a political and equally a legal issue and equally a diplomatic issue. It is not a reactive policy. So Foreign Office is working on it.
Political, it is a legal issue. This is something that you have said, and that is that's a very pertinent point to note. Nevertheless, despite all the reports that have come out, whether it be from the United Nations Human Rights Committee, whether it be from the Human Rights Forum Jammu and Kashmir, that the 178-page report that came out on the 5th of August 2021, what is really happening across the world in the United Nations? Despite the resolutions, why is there no tangible action being taken by the important bodies against what is happening in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and give the people their right to self-determination?
We look at it from the focus of the 6th and 7th Charter of the United Nations, that this is breaching international law, international peace and security. And from those dynamics, our case is very strong. But we must acknowledge that, in the past 2 years, we've seen 2 Security Council sessions, though they were short, but they happen after 54 years. And we have seen in the recent past, we've seen 3 UN Human Rights Commission reports coming from the UN, which has never happened in the past. We've seen the European Parliament report, we've seen the British Parliament report, MEPs of the European Parliament exposing Indian atrocities recently. We saw the debate in the House of Commons, and a lot of other things have been going on, but I think it's still not enough because the level of violations that are taking place against us, the ethnic cleansing, they're wiping off the Kashmiri population from their land. It's not just about killing us or, Kashmiris landing in death cells or in a police station or in it's basically India is trying to give more and more residencies to Indians. They're Indianizing it, and in a year or so, the pace at which they're going...
Indianizing in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, this is a very valid point that also you've made. Now, when there are different surveys that are carried out in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, one of those surveys I'd like to point out by Al Jazeera in the first quarter of 2020, which happened 7 months after the abrogation of Articles 370 and 35A, it revealed that more than 90% of the college and university students that were surveyed in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir wanted a complete withdrawal of Indian forces from the region. Also, this and so many other surveys convey the unified stance of the people in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir of the withdrawal of troops and their right to self-determination. Do you feel at any moment of time that this could happen, or do you feel under this Indian government, under the BJP government, this is never bound to happen?
The international global opinion favors right to self-determination for the Kashmiris. It was a right promised, enshrined in the UN resolutions. But the problem has been the Indian military occupational might over there, which has been the biggest obstacle. So de-weaponization, demilitarization is the first and foremost thing to be done in this occupied territory. Secondly, right to self-determination is the main core, the principle behind which the people are demanding their right to the Kashmiri people as a right enshrined to every human being on this planet, and this is supreme right according to international law. And 23 million Kashmiris from both sides of the LOC are demanding this right. And what strengthens our case even more is the Indian domination, the brutalities, the occupational forces, the ethnic cleansing. All this makes our case stronger, just like the case of Bosnia, of Kosovo, of East Timor. And if we do not look at it from that perspective, and if we just keep chanting that, the world is not listening, we must knock the doors of International Court of Justice, International Criminal Court, Security Council, demanding an urgent census in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir through tabling a resolution that the demography changes in Kashmir are illegal because it's violation of the Geneva Convention. Secondly,
that is so true, and I hope that that urgent census really happens, because of all countries, Pakistan is really putting up the pressure on the different fora on an urgent resolution of the issue of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Thank you so very much, ma'am Mishal. Malik, you were a voice for the oppressed people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and also the women that are being incarcerated in that region. We've been now joined by Dr. Waleed Rasool. He's a Kashmiri leader. Dr. Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Dr. Saab, today is a black day, a day that, of course, reminds us of all the brutalities that happened since 1947 and continue to this day in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Is there a light at the end of the tunnel?
I am audible. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes, you are, Dr. Saab. Did you hear my question?
Yes, light. When you are talking about light on the other tunnel, there
Yes,
are
at the end of the
four
tunnel, yes.
dimensions of it, sir. The continuous resistance of the Kashmiris people against the wrath of the India. Number one. Number two, the continuous support of the Pakistan despite of the huge cost. Number three, the resolution was moved by China in the UN Security Council. It was supported by Malaysia. It was supported by Turkey. It was supported by China, and it was partially supported by our some few allies. Number five, the resilience of our nation, who are continuing their struggle despite of the huge cost at multiple fronts. And number seven, there is a voice internationally. When we issued a dossier from the Foreign Office of Pakistan to the international community, and there was some sort of turbulence in those circles who are denying the human rights to the Kashmiri people. And this is the light of the tunnel. And you know, when we are talking about the struggle of Kashmir, it is deeply rooted in the masses, in the hearts and souls of those people who have rendered the huge sacrifices, not only since 1947 but since 1931. And this is today 7th October was the main difference, how India implemented Sam, Dam, Dand, and Ved. And that is now she deployed the Indian forces of 111 brigade, our Indian airport, and they occupied Kashmir militarily, and she got the space to took the Kashmir to United Nations. And it was India who took Kashmir to United Nations to gain the time.
Dr.
And
Waleed,
now
Rasool, India took Kashmir's issue to the United Nations. We totally agree on that. But since then, it has not shied away from not finding any kind of solution to this issue of the people, not internally, not externally. It wants to subjugate the people of the region to unnecessary brutalities. I was seeing the Kashmir media services report on the number of casualties, on the number of killings. More than 100,000 people killed since 1989 in the region. More than 8,500 custodian killings. More than 164,900 civilians arrested. Around 109,000 or more structures destroyed. Women raped, and so on and so forth. I mean, these brutalities are not being checked by the international community, despite knowing exactly what is happening in that region. What needs to be done now?
But this freedom struggle is a continuous process. What we need to do, we are trying to do our utmost at multi fronts. When you are talking about the sacrifices of the people of Indian occupied Kashmir, there is not single day when we are not confronting the aggression of India. It is the number one front, which we called the internal front of the mass resistance. Number two, our people who are currently caged in various incarnation centers, jails, and torture cells. The sentiment is live. It is a domestic dimension. And now, what we need to do something regionally and internationally. And now what Pakistan is doing, Pakistan has to do, as she is doing internationally. We have to increase the canvas of our international allies. That is the sole duty of the state, because Pakistan is not only the party to dispute. but the legal party to the dispute of the Kashmir. And number
All right,
third, now you are
finally,
talking
Dr. Saab,
about
a very short
why
answer to my
international
next
community
question.
is not
A
doing
very short
enough.
answer, Dr. Saab, I'd like to have from this next question. That will be the last with you. Now, Pakistan has supported this cause for the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and its people since time immemorial, since in fact 1947. Even now, today, there were different rallies in different parts of the country. Our different leaders walked down on different walks in their respective provinces to show that solidarity with the people of the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Our President, Dr. Arif Alvi Saab, says that we are with you at every forum. Our Prime Minister Imran Khan urges the international community to play its due role. Pakistan is one of the countries, or I might say the only country, that is steadfastly committed to politically and morally support the people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Why are there not more countries like Pakistan that are joining hands with it?
But sir, there is a problem in international order since when you are talking about the human rights, people do that there is an interest which is on the basis of the interest, and that interest matters in international relations. Number one, number two, when you are making some headway through various organizations. Recently, the chairman of the Kashmir Committee, Shahryar Afridi, visited America, and he visited various think tanks, including 9 other countries. And when you are talking about the Pakistan, Imran Khan himself says that he is an ambassador of the Kashmir.
Of course.
And Pakistan as a state, as you said, Pakistan as a state has to do more. But it is not the only dimension. We have to build the narrative on the media front, on the academic front, on the research front, on the lobbying front, on the ambassadors front. And every aggressor utilizes his power to crush the sentiment. But you have seen the present countries who are independent from the clutches of the Mayam, from the aggression, they have all fighted against the mighty and powerful nations, but still they got freedom.
Of course, and the struggle is a struggle, Dr. Saab, that continues to this day, and we really hope and we pray that this struggle of the people in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir comes to a logical conclusion where they are not only given their right to self-determination, but also given the whole Indian forces, the 1 million, around 1 million Indian forces that are present in the region need to go out of it. They need to be given their freedom and also their right to self-determination. I wish this happens sooner than later. Thank you very much, Dr. Waleed Rasool Saab, to have joined us, to have talked to us about this very important day and its significance, that is the Kashmir Black Day. Let's go to our second segment, ladies and gentlemen. That concerns this relationship between Pakistan and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, especially on the economic front. Now, of late, Saudi Arabia has agreed to revive its financial support to Pakistan in 2 important spheres. More in the following report.
The emblematic Pak Saudi bonhomie has weathered all ebbs and flows of international and domestic politics. The long-standing partners and brotherly Muslim countries stood by each other through thick and thin. The kingdom has reaffirmed the strength of its brotherly relations with Pakistan once again, as it has agreed to provide $4.2 billion to Pakistan on an annual basis in the shape of cash assistance and oil on deferred payments. The timing of this financial largesse is particularly crucial, as it will help Pakistan convince the IMF about its financing plan. It's the second financial assistance package that the kingdom has extended to Pakistan in the past 3 years, as Saudi Arabia has also provided $3 billion in cash deposits and promised $3 billion oil on deferred payments to Pakistan to help it shore up its foreign exchange reserves in 2018. Last year, the two countries' trade reached more than $1.7 billion, of which 74% consisted of Pakistani oil imports from Saudi Arabia, as per Pakistan's central bank data. On a visit to Islamabad in 2019, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman signed $20 billion in projects with Pakistan. Saudi Arabia is also home to more than 2.5 million Pakistani expatriates, whose remittances form a major portion of Pakistan's incoming foreign reserves every year. Both countries already have deep, objective-oriented and trustworthy defense relationship. Thus, the Pak-Saudi ties is an ever-blossoming phenomenon which will persist in expanding scope of bilateral engagement.
Now, to talk more about the economic relationship between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, we've been joined by Shakeel Ramay, who's a leading economist. Shakeel Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. We've talked before on Pakistan's economy and, of course, the relationship it has with Saudi Arabia. But of now, something that had been stalled for some time has been reinvigorated from the Saudi side. That is the financial support to Pakistan, which includes $3 billion in safe deposits and 1.2 billion to 1.5 billion US dollars worth of oil supplies on deferred payments. Will this stabilize Pakistan's economic condition? B, will it help Pakistan with the IMF?
Look, the point of the stabilization of economy, definitely it will help us to stabilize our foreign reserves, and it will help to bring down the dollar. So we have seen in the last
of course it is
24 hours, so dollar is coming down now. It will help us. But if you are looking overall economy, that is a big question.
All right.
Because these are the deposits only for the reserves, not for the spending at the economic level, a macroeconomic level. So leave alone the micro, not even at the macroeconomic level.
All right.
One thing and second thing, these are we have to pay back. Later,
sooner or later
we have to pay back. So it is not our money. So if we look at on economy, it will not have any impact in the longer term, but in the short term, it will help us to sustain the pressure of IMF, as you are asking. So we will be in a better position to negotiate, because now we have certain amount of dollar with us. One thing and second thing, when the dollar rate will be coming down, it will it will have some impact on the inflation. Because if we were looking at that, to be our main imports at this point of time are the oil and the cooking oil and other some products from the abroad. Due to the lower economic rate of the rupee, the price was increasing in terms of the Pakistani rupee. So maybe in the reversal of this process in the short term maybe give some relief. On bigger level, I don't see it will have any.
What about the oil payments on a deferred basis of 1.2 to 1.5 billion US dollars?
I think we have to see that is good. We are having this in the deferred payments, oil on the deferred payments.
Exactly.
But we have to see what will be the prices of the oil in the market when we will have to pay it.
Okay.
So because it will not be like that tomorrow. If the price of oil is $40 and we have already committed for the $3, 3 years on the deferred payments at this rate, $70 or the $80 per barrel. So we have to see what will be impacted. But in the short term, it will give us a cushion. But the important question is that Omar, why we are going for these short-term solutions are the cushion. Not even a solution, it's a cushion. It's you can say that you are putting, you are not going, but you are not working on economy. Because for the last 3 years, you are in a power, you had the time and had the resources. Even when the PTA came into the power, they have the generous package from the Saudi Arabia, China, UAE, Qatar. So we had that money gone. So why you did not put it or channelize that money for the production sector? The biggest relief we could have from the agriculture sector. In the last 2 or 3 years, many countries in the world, they are looking for the sustainable solution for their food security, because during the COVID, many countries, especially in the Gulf, they had to suffer.
Pakistan did benefit from the COVID.
But we could not benefit because we are the net importer of food. We are not putting the money where it is needed. For example, for the cooking oil, we can invest on the soybean or other products in our own country, and we can produce that oil in our own country, but we are not bringing that money toward that. So one thing and second thing, if we play in a smart way, we can forge new partnerships in the Middle East. For example, Saudi Arabia, they are importing more than 80% of their food. Imagine a population of 34.81 million people. They are importing 80% of their food, and their per capita consumption is quite high as compared to the Pakistan, because their per capita income is higher than Pakistan or many other countries. One thing, second thing, look at the Kuwait. They are importing 85%. Qatar, more than 80%. So we can sell this product, our agriculture product, but for that purpose we have to invest on agriculture.
All right.
What we are doing, we are just trying to showcase the few things, and we just are doing the patchwork. We are not really investing on the sector. And fortunately, we had a very good minister at the Agriculture Ministry, Mr. Fakhr Imam. But unfortunately, he has not been given the time to work.
All right.
His hands are stitched with the wall. Because you have bring a new advisor on him. So who is looking after that? Look, we have to invest on agriculture according to our development status. The whole policy for the last 1.5 years, I am listening from hearing here and there, a middleman is responsible for every ill. What is your solution? You are bringing the corporate sector instead of the middleman. That means you are bringing a more powerful middleman.
All right.
You are not trying to solve the problem. The problem is quality input. Are you able to provide that? No. Their problem is better infrastructure for the market. Their problem is they are looking for the better supply chain management. Their problem is they don't have the storage facilities. But what you are offering then? You are saying we are bringing them, giving them card. Look, we have to look at our rural areas. Most of the time, those people don't go to bank. They are uneducated and they are strictly following the religious belief that they are not going for riba.
But different programs have been initiated for the rural people as well.
That's what I'm saying. You are doing the patchwork. Look, they have given the subsidy of 1,000 on per bag of DAP. You know the statistics. 1.3 million people farm, how they are the less than 1 acre. Less than 1 acre. 2.23 million farms are between 1 acre to the 2.5 acre. More than your 3 million people, they are having this holding which they cannot afford 7,000, 8,000 bag. That indirectly you are giving the subsidy to the big shots. Because they cannot afford from the 1 acre, 2 acre to buy these costly
So in fact,
inputs.
what you're trying to say is that the main economic focus should be on these small farmers who form the bulk of the agriculture sector in
Agriculture
Pakistan.
sector, and give them targeted subsidy, not the blanket subsidy.
All right.
Our subsidy style is a blanket. They're giving it to everybody. One thing, and second thing, we could also avoid this economic turmoil in this situation or in the future also if we go for the sustainable industrialization.
All right. And what do you mean by stabilized industrialization?
Industrialization. Look, in the form of CPAC, in the second phase of CPAC, that is all about industrialization and agriculture. Unfortunately, we are spending more time in the senseless statements or something like that.
All right.
But we are not really working to provide the facility to the special economic zones, and we are not facilitating the businessmen from the outside and within the country. Facilitation does not mean give them everything incentive. No, at least you have to smoothen your processes. If they have to get electricity connection, if they have to get the other utility connection, it should be provided at his footstep.
And it should be prioritized for them.
Prioritize. How many how many companies are involved in the registration of business or industry? On top of that, they have to get the security clearance.
All right.
So in this context, and you were talking about this, you can say the help from the Saudi Arabia. How many times we will talk about that? It is not a matter of to celebrate or so we be very happy. It's a matter of grave concern. We have to look at that. A country which
But it does provide a temporary relief for us in
it will
the short
provide
term.
in the short term, but we have to work on the long term and sustainable solution. God has given us the opportunity, resources, and the opportunity in the form of the CPAC. Not only CPAC, China is also building a relationship with other sectors. For example, before
technological zones as well.
Before CPAC came to Pakistan in 2010, the total investment of China from private company and government company was the $15 billion US. Like Huawei, like Zong, they are not CPAC company. They are other industry, higher Pakistan.
True.
So, but we have to plan and execute with the wisdom.
All right.
So that we can achieve the target.
Now coming back to a little bit back to Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, how important do you feel is also the role of the Pakistani expatriates that are there in different fields, working in different fields, and the remittances that are they bringing back? Because this is what the government is also stating, that the remittances are going to a level that is that has not been seen before.
Look, if you ask me about Saudi Arabia and the remittances question, I think we must be thankful to Saudi Arabia. They so many times came to rescue us. And they are also giving us remittances for the long time. Our huge labor force is working there. But the question is how we will sustain that labor force there.
All right.
Why I am saying this? Because according to their Vision 2030, they are transforming their economy. They are diversifying their economy. In the diversification process, that means in the green development, and they are they are moving towards the services industry like tourism, like hoteling, like for those areas there would be need of the skilled labor force. You cannot send the unskilled labor force, which we were doing for the last many decades.
All right.
So if we want to sustain that, because if we don't invest on the skill of the people, then we will not have any reason to criticize Saudi Arabia tomorrow that our labor force is not there, because everybody they want labor force according to their own need, not our needs. If we want to send our labor force in the future, we have to identify according to Vision 2030. So what skills would be required? Number one,
because there's a lot of emphasis on that Vision 2030 in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, they are. So we have to look how much it would be required in the hoteling, business services, like the services at the airport, like the tourism services, like how many people will be required in their education sectors, how many people will be required in their health sectors. We have to look at that, analyze, and then plan.
All right.
Now we have to start imparting the skills at this point of time. Don't look that in 2030 when every skill will have the skill, and then we will start the program.
All right.
That would not be a wise decision. And then we will not have this, I don't think so, because most of the time people start to talk about, oh, look, our friend is sending back. No, we have to look their market, what they need.
And cater to those needs.
Go those needs. If they need a driver, we cannot insist on the cook.
Of course, it needs to be as per their needs. What about the different agreements that were signed between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, whether it be that on economic, commercial and technical cooperation, whether it be the MOU that was signed between the Federation of Pakistan Chambers of Commerce and Industry and the Council of Saudi Chamber of Commerce and Industry? Do you feel that these agreements could be utilized on to their best, so that Pakistan could, increase as its exposure, as you very well said, to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia as per their needs?
Look, we have to look the detail of those all agreements. Okay, what is, and apart from that, there is a big institutional framework we have devised. That is I think the council we have created under the chairmanship of Crown Prince and the Prime Minister of Pakistan. That is a business council.
Yes.
It's something like that. But for the last 2 years, that council did not do anything substantial thing. One thing, and second thing, Omar, we have to look where we can make the big business. One area which can give us a huge business, one I have already talked about, the food.
Yes.
And other area, that is a defense. Because in the Vision 2030, they said in 2016, they were only producing 2% of their defense needs from their own resources. But up to 2030, they will go for the 50%.
All right.
And Pakistan have deep relation with Saudi Arabia.
There's also the agreement of security cooperation that has been signed between
and Pakistan has a lot of things to offer: jet, missiles, weapon, ammunition, anything. So we can make a lot of space there, and Saudi Arabia is under pressure from the West right now, like what the Biden is doing. So they are not sustainable friends. Pakistan can be a sustainable
and Pakistan
friend.
has been a sustainable friend to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, so has the kingdom been for Pakistan. So they should work together so that both can benefit from each other.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Shakeel, Ramay, to have joined us and to have talked about the different issues that pertain to the economic woes of Pakistan and how Pakistan can use this time and the potential in order to further cement its relationship in the economic field with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Thank you very much, Shakeel, Ramay, to have joined us on that. Let's come to our last two stories, ladies and gentlemen, very quickly. The first is a report that came out from the TRT that talks about a Palestinian mother who was being forcibly pulled from her son's grave. And of course, that is in the whole context of the fact that the Israeli authorities are raising the Palestinian graveyards, and what they are doing is that they are raising it so that they can make more construction on it, and that creates a huge hue and cry within the Palestinians because they have lost so many of their loved ones in this battle between the Israelis and the Palestinians. That's something that has been going on since 1967, and despite that, nothing tangible has come out as far as the international agreements or the different pressure tactics from different countries on Israel is concerned. Nevertheless, these graves are being bulldozed, and all memory of the loved ones of these Palestinian mothers and fathers are being lost, and that is why this picture of this mother who was being pulled from the grave of her son holds a lot of importance, because it makes us realize of the grave responsibility, of the important responsibility that all of the countries of the world have in order to find a true and just solution to the issue of Palestine as well as that of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. But this picture, of course, concerns Palestine. And our last story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the hate against the Muslim community that is slowly and steadily increasing with every passing month, day and hour. In this latest campaign, what has happened is that in India there is an ad campaign for the festival of Diwali that is coming up, and that ad campaign contains words that are in the Urdu language. Now a lot of Hindus now that are in India are of course criticizing this, and they say this campaign needs to be struck down, or the words that are in the Urdu language need to be taken down, because they say, and I quote unquote, that Urdu is a Muslim language. You know, now they are what they are doing is they are attaching the Urdu language with the cause against the Muslims that they have been fighting now, not only in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, but also within India. The way the Muslim minorities are being subjugated in different parts of India is a testament to that, and this just adds to that misery of the Muslims of the Indian subcontinent. This was a whole research that was done by the Al Jazeera, and they talked to different important Muslim leaders, and they were all unanimous in the fact that they are being subjugated to a huge pressure from the Hindus, not only to sideline them but also to start removing any signs or any trace of their language, that is Urdu, a language that was there even centuries back. Nevertheless, let's see what happens as far as that is concerned, because with every passing day we hear more and more signs of the BJP government going ahead with their RSS ideology and philosophy. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new segment stories that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Stay safe, follow the SOPs, and be very vigilant of COVID-19 as well as dengue. Allah Hafiz.